Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for punishing dumb-ass openings. Now this one is not one I've played. This one was submitted by Chad, who's Wixter911, Chess Bootcamp Live member, is currently up to 9:30 in Rapid. Actually, no, this is a blitz game. It's a 5-minute blitz. No excuse. Name 112 is rated 879, and let's see what happens. So Chad opens the proceedings with pawn to e4, an excellent move. Why is this excellent? Well, it controls an important square in the centre. It also controls f5. It also allows his bishop to come out into the board, and it gives the queen freedom to come out into the board also. Okay. So this is all excellent. We have central control, we have liberating pieces, and all is well in the world. Notice that the light squared bishop requires one of these two pawns to move in order to enter the game at any point. Likewise, this dark squared bishop here requires either the g pawn or the e pawn to move in order to enter the game. Likewise, this bishop needs either the b pawn or the d pawn, and the same for this guy, right? Do we have a different colour for him? I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, so this guy requires either the b pawn or the d pawn to move in order for it to be able to develop, and in developing it controls more of the board. Right now this bishop, for example, controls nothing. It's defending 2 pawns, that's all it's doing. That's all it's doing. Same with this guy, right? So if you want to control more of the board, you want to gain an advantage over your opponent, right? You need to get your pieces out into the board onto squares where they can see and control more other squares. Black now decides that he knows better than this and pushes pawn to h5. This is apparently called the Goldsmith defense, and it is very rare for very good reason. One reason is that it doesn't control any of the central squares. These are the central squares. This pawn is now controlling this square, which is not very important. Okay, another reason why it's not very good is because it doesn't allow this bishop out into the board, and it doesn't allow this bishop out into the board. Right? So he's done nothing to accelerate his development in any way at all. There is a general rule in the opening that you should only move pawns in the opening phase of the game, i.e. until you have connected your rooks and your rooks can see each other. Only move pawns if it directly contributes to your development. That's a general rule. Okay? Doesn't mean it can't be broken, but it is a principle. Okay? Name 112 is throwing that principle out of the window. It now means that he has used his very first move not to control anything in the centre and not to develop any of his pieces. Shall we see how this works out for him? Okay. Chad plays knight c3 in Vienna style. That defends this pawn. Now, black now plays pawn to d5. And what is wrong with this move? I'll tell you what's right with it. He's trying to control the centre. Okay. Also, he's enabling this bishop to come out to the board, which is not a bad thing. Okay. The problem is that he's put it on a square where it's actually attacked twice and defended only by the queen, right? So what Chad should do here is capture the pawn. Now he doesn't actually do that. He develops his own knight, right? Which is inaccurate because quite honestly this is free stuff. And it's not just free stuff, it's a central pawn. Right? The D and the E pawns are valuable pawns. They're like 1.3 pawns compared to these guys that are like 0.7. Yeah? Not all pawns are born equal. It's just the way of the world. So if you're offered a central pawn, generally a good idea to grab it. Black now places his queen's bishop out to g4, pinning this knight against the queen. All right? Still, the best move here is to take the pawn, because black can't recapture with the queen because he just loses his queen and the game. Okay, Chad now breaks the pin with bishop to e2, right? So, I mean, black could capture here and the pawn just gets recaptured. Notice, if you will, that white, yes, it's black to move, but white has 3 pieces out on the board, black only has 1 piece out on the board. That means that in theory, white is controlling a bunch of squares, right, on the board, all of these, and this, and this, and this, and this, you know, all of these squares are being controlled by white at this point in time. Black has far less control over the board. Now, black now decides to capture the pawn and just loses the pawn. Okay, it's a similar situation that we have. Black now decides that he's fed up with having a piece out on the board, so he decides to trade it off. And this is a bad idea, right? For a couple of reasons. One is, at this point, at least he has a piece out on the board, right? That piece is potentially looking down at the queen. It's defended by a pawn. It's not in any immediate danger. Therefore, your goal should be to develop your pieces, right? He doesn't do this. He eliminates his only developed piece. What's more, look at this board. Look where the pawns are, right? This is where the pawns are. All the pawns are here, right? There are no pawns that are locked, so there are no files that are closed, right? When you get pawns butting heads on a file, that closes the file, and that makes it harder for bishops to move around the board. Right now, for example, white could just capture this pawn defended by the queen. Rook can't recapture, you know? White has a knight in the center, which is a strong thing. And white is also ready to castle, okay? He's only about 3 moves. So castles, move a pawn, get this out, and you've completed development now. Black now plays pawn to c6. Now, do we approve of this move? No. Why? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, because it's doing nothing to get this bishop out into the board. Right? Is this a pawn move that helps development? No. What should he do? Probably e5. e5, e6 is okay. Even push this pawn, maybe fianchetto the bishop on g7, right? Something to get this bloody bishop out into the board. Even playing his knight out here is fine, right? He could play his knight out here is fine. This move, right? All he's achieved is, yeah, kind of giving his queen another diagonal, but the downside is he's removed the c6 square from his knight. Okay, it's no longer available for his knight, so his knight's going to have to come here or here, slightly inferior squares. So that was a dumb move. White now castles, perfectly good, get your king safe. Now the queen comes out into the board. Black is doing almost everything completely wrong here. And this is a really, really good kind of case study in how not to play chess, quite honestly. He's attacking with his queen, right? You can't win a game using a queen alone. Your queen, if there's a queen and a king, a queen cannot checkmate a king. She just can't, right? She needs support, she needs backup. And that's why these guys, the remaining minor pieces, apart from the one that was sacrificed for no point at all, these guys are supposed to be out in the board helping, right? Look, we've got minor pieces out on the board here. We've castled our king, got the king into the corner where it's safe, right? So, Chad kicks the king. Sorry, kicks the queen. Queen moves sideways to here. Now, there are a few patterns on the board that you should know, okay? So you're familiar with the knight move L, okay? Now, there's also, right, so let's say, we'll colour this in green, okay? So we colour this one in green, and we're going to colour this one in orange, right? So we've got a green one. This is a normal knight's move, right? Knight goes to here, okay? Now, if you've got a long knight's move, okay, this is a key square. Why is it a key square? Because if a knight is on this square, it is targeting both of these squares here, right? You see what I mean? So let's go back to here. This and this and this, okay? It's a long knight's move, right? Which means that this square hits both of them, okay? Now, what's the point of this one? Well, we're doing that in orange, won't we? Do it in orange, right? This is a big knight's move. This is like supersized knight's move, yeah? The point is that there's a square here also that hits both. So anytime you see two important pieces in this arrangement, right? It's a big old L. Your spider senses should tingle. I wonder if Chad's spider senses tingled at this point, because he plays rook to e1, right? So he isn't developing this. I mean, another move might have been b3. Okay, that comes with the advantage of kicking the queen. Also allows this bishop out to the board. Okay, but here we have a tactical idea. White now plays the stunning g6, which is okay. And the reason it's okay is because he's defending this pawn a second time, right? The reason it's not okay, on the other hand, is because of Chad's final move. Can you spot Chad's final move? And the final move of the game that ends the game after Black has spent only 36 seconds on its own time. Knight to d6, right? Why is this good? Okay, so we're taking advantage of this big old L. We are forking the king and the queen, right? And normally the pawn would be able to capture the knight, but the pawn can't capture the knight because the pawn is pinned by this rook, and that was the point of rook to e1. I like to think, okay? Game ended, and in 36 seconds, Black has managed to lose a game and learn absolutely nothing in the process. I hope Name112 watches this video because, dude, there are so many things you did absolutely. I mean, this isn't just like arguably dubious. This is like dead in the water wrong stuff. Absolutely, Chad posted this in our group saying, I think I have a candidate for punishing dumbass openings. I apologise. Punishing dumbass openings. And absolutely, mate, spot on. This was a belter. Thank you for submitting. Thank you for your time for watching. If you are sub 1000 and you're playing any of the ideas that Name112 played in this, please stop it. You know, and do not start your game with a move like this. There's absolutely no point at all. You are going to improve slowly. You're only making life difficult for yourself. Stop it, cut it out, play properly, and hopefully you'll enjoy your chess a bit more as well. Right, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm off to referee a Rugby Sevens tournament today in the drizzle, but yeah, rugby season starts again very soon, so thanks for watching. See you soon.